Pardon? Helen? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the St. Tammany Parish Zoning Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 5th, 2017. Madam Secretary, please call the roll. We will get you live. Okay, we will postpone for just a moment here while we change the computer system over to the Zoning Commission. Are we ready?
Yeah. All right.
What just transpired is we had the Board of Adjustment screens up, so we had to bring that system down and bring up the Zoning Commission screen, and that's just what happened. So with that, again, I would ask that Madam Secretary call the roll.
Ms. Casabon? Here. Mr. Lauren? Here. Mr. Richardson? Mr. Richard? Here. Mr. Willie? Here. Mr. Manella?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Fitzmaurice?
Here.
Mr. Dougherty?
Here.
Mr. Drum?
Here.
Mr. Randolph?
Here.
We do have a quorum. This time we would respectfully ask that you silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal any of the recommendations of this commission, appeals cards are to our right. If you wish to speak before the commission, we would ask that you fill out a speaker's card with your name and address. Each side will be provided 10 minutes to present their case with 5 minutes of rebuttal. And lastly, at the end of every case, if you wish to discuss it further, we would ask that you exit the building, as if you go back into the back foyer, it does echo into the chamber. This time I would ask you to rise with an invocation by Commissioner Randolph, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Casabon.
Bestowed in our lives. We thank you for our families. We thank you for our government. We thank you for our parish and the government that we represent and the employees therein. We thank you for all the blessings that you granted to us through our Thanksgiving holiday. And we ask, gracious Father, that you continue to bless us with your grace and mercy throughout this coming holiday season. Give us safety, give us joy, give us peace and comfort. And all these blessings we ask. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In our packets, we have the minutes from our November 7th, 2017 meeting. If you'd please review them, and I will entertain any motions or comments. Commissioner Randolph. Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Davis. Second by Commissioner Davis. Any further comments? Please vote.
All voted in favor, motion approved.
Staff, are there any cases that have been requested for postponement?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on one second.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the number one on the agenda, which is 2017-727, and the Representative, Mr. Paul Marone, is here to address the Zoning Commission.
Thank you. Again, this is a public hearing. The public is encouraged to speak on behalf of or in opposition of any of the cases heard before the Commission. Zoning change request cases, applications for proposed change of zoning district or amendments to the land use ordinance requiring review and recommendation of approval by the Zoning Commission before action by the Parish Council are as follows. First case is what staff brought up. The petitioner is asking for a postponement. 2017-727-ZC, existing zoning, A3 Suburban District and A4 Single Family Residential District. Proposed zoning, A6 Multiple Family Residential District. Parcel is 17.69 acres. The petitioner, Joan Pareto Doolittle, Golden Properties, LLC. The Cala Prieto Trust, Zan Nichols Prieto, Clay Carl Prieto, Rosalind F. Prieto. The owner, Joan Prieto Doolittle, Golden Properties, LLC. The Cala Prieto Trust, Zan Nichols Prieto, Clay Carl Prieto, Rosalind F. Prieto. Representative Paul Marone. The parcel is located on the south side of Emerald Forest Boulevard, east of Faulkner Drive, being lot P2, Ward 3, District 5. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone, on behalf of the owners of this particular parcel, you'll recall that I appeared before you last month and explained that we had an interested party that was proposing to purchase the property. I asked that the matter be tabled so that there could be a meeting with some of the surrounding residents, including the individuals that live along Fifth Avenue to the south of the subject property, as well as the Garden Walk subdivision and Crestwood subdivision. That meeting took place, I believe, several weeks ago on a Friday. My understanding is that the meeting went quite well. The proposal was well received by all of the surrounding residents. And as a result, we would ask to be in a position to move forward with that revised plan. However, the plan is such that I can't amend the existing proposal before you. It varies so much that after meeting with Ms. Lambert and with Mr. Fontenot, it was determined that we really need to file new applications rather than trying to amend this existing case. So we're in the process of doing that, and we intend to have those applications into Ms. Lambert's office by the next deadline, which would afford us the ability to be on your agenda in February. So what we would ask of you this evening is to simply table this case long enough so that we'll have an opportunity to present the new plan to you for consideration. If that new plan is acceptable to this commission and ultimately to the council, then this case will be withdrawn and pulled from your agenda entirely. But of course, until we get to that point where we can present the plan to see if it is acceptable, we would like to at least maintain this case, but we don't want it to come up on your agenda every month so that you have to deal with it, and so that some of the residents, they don't have to come out unnecessarily. So based on all of that, we would respectfully request that the matter be tabled, I believe, until your April agenda. Ms. Lambert and Mr. Fondo and I had talked about March, but I think to be safe, we would ask that you consider tabling or postponing the matter until your April meeting. That should give us more than enough time to get before you with the new proposal and, if necessary, appear before the council for their consideration. So with that said, we would request the postponement until April.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the postponement? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Dougherty.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, based on Mr. Marone's comment, I would put a motion on the floor to postpone until the April 2018 Zoning Commission meeting.
So moved. Commissioner Davis.
I'll second that motion, and that's postponing for 4 months, correct?
Correct. Any other comments of the commission? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Dougherty to postpone for 4 months, which would be April 2018, second by Commissioner Davis. Please vote.
All voted in favor to postpone. Motion approved.
2017-786-ZC, existing zoning, A3 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, A3 Suburban District in manufactured housing overlay. The parcel, 14,609.72 square feet. The petitioner, by council motion. The owner, George Pichon. The parcel is located on the south side of Sycamore Drive, east of 24th Street, Ward 7, District 7. Staff.
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be rural residential, which would have the lowest number of units per acre and may include agricultural open spaces as well. These types of residential areas would be varying levels of single-family detached dwellings, multifamily and attached residential and planned subdivisions for manufactured homes. Staff does not have any objection to the request. Staff recommends the request for a manufacturing housing overlay be approved.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matthew Crane with the Jones Purcell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810, Covington. We represent Ms. Pichon. The request before y'all is to rezone a 0.3 acre lot from A3 to A3 and manufactured housing overlay. There are multiple lots within the general vicinity of this lot that are zoned manufactured housing overlay, including the lot directly across the street that has a mobile home. Staff recommends approval, and we respectfully request that y'all grant the rezoning. If y'all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve. Commissioner Randolph. Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
All voted in favor of motion. Motion approved.
2017-805-ZC, existing zoning, A1 suburban zoning, RO rural overlay, and manufactured housing overlay. The proposed zoning, A2 suburban district, RO rural overlay, and manufactured housing overlay. The parcel, 2.99 acres. The petitioner, Colin and Eva Shanti Vile. The owner, Colin and Eva Shanti Vile. The parcel is located at the end of J Lane, west of Louisiana Highway 40, Ward 2, District 6. Staff.
2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential and agriculture uses. Staff does not see any compelling reason to recommend approval, considering the site is surrounded by A1 Suburban District. Staff recommends that the request for A2 be denied.
Thank you. Petitioner, please state your name and address.
It's Eva Shanti Pravet Vial, and my address is 80007 Highway 1129, Covington, Louisiana.
Thank you.
Simply put, we purchased 2.99 acres. Its zoning currently is A1. We'd like to be able to put 2 residents on the approximately 3 acres. That is our request.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, sir.
My name is Johnny Cacciabata Jr. I live at 21749 Highway 40, right off of J Lane. Don't know what's going on over there. They have right now looks like 4 trailer pads. That's telling me they're trying to put 4 trailers on site. They already have 1 trailer on site. There's no way they can put 4 trailers. The road can't handle all the traffic. We're very concerned. We have a small, what we call a little piece of paradise. We love the area. Don't know who's coming in and out. Nobody's ever talked to us or anything. We've seen this going on, so we started asking questions. We're against this. All of these people sitting right here, we all live down that lane. We all own a portion of that lane. We keep that lane up. We chip in for rock, grade it off.
Excuse me, sir, one
Yes,
second.
sir.
Ma'am, if you would please stay seated. Thank you. Please proceed, sir.
We keep the road up. We have, we just don't know what's going on. We want to know what's going on. We don't want 4 trailers there.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? The public in the front row, are you in agreement with this gentleman? Please show us hand by hand. Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am, one moment. If there's no one who wishes to speak in opposition, then ma'am, you've got 5 minutes to rebut.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to clarify, the pads that are out there, as you know, the property does fall off.
If you would.
I'm so sorry.
Address the commission.
First time, so I apologize.
That's fine, but
Okay.
just stay focused on the commission.
Basically, they're on the property. There's 1 trailer currently. We'd like to put another. We did build a pad, brought in some dirt to put a carport for each one, if approved. The land does fall off a little in the back, so we had to do dirt work regardless. As far as the road, after having the dirt brought in, my husband did grade it, so it was graded by us, and it was not anything that fell upon the current residents, and we're not looking to create some kind of trailer park. We just want to have 2 residents on 3 acres. That's basically it.
So just to clarify, ma'am, again, everything is to be focused to the commission.
Sure.
Just to clarify your point, so 2 of the pads are to put residences on, and 2 of the pads are to put carports,
We're hoping to put carports, the big middle one, you know.
but they are not to be for another residence, is that correct?
No, not, all we have is the 1 trailer out there. We just did the dirt work. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
So, okay.
Thank you. Yes, sir, you may. Ma'am, if you would please be seated, and you will have 5 minutes to rebut.
Okay, so they're going to put 2 residents there. Are they renting those 2 residents out? Are they going to live there and rent 1 out? You know, that's another thing we're concerned about. I mean, I was told, and maybe I'm wrong, but I have a house, and I was told you could have a mother-in-law house, a spare house, and I do have that on my property. I don't rent the trailer out. My daughter lives in it. I was understanding if they're not living on the property, they can't rent those 2 trailers out. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's a concern that we do have.
Let me ask counsel, do they have?
Yeah, there's no prohibition that they live on the property. If they want to rent them out, they can rent them out.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Sir?
All the property owners own
Excuse me, if
that
you'd
road.
state your name and address for the
My
record.
name is Johnny Cacciabata Sr., 21743 Highway 40, Bush, Louisiana.
Thank you, sir.
and I'd like to state, all the property owners own this lane. Now, at the end of that lane is the 2.99 acres. They don't own the lane. So if they live there, they can use the lane, but the lane is not for rental. We don't want rental people going up and down there. If he's gonna live there, that's fine. But if he's gonna rent it out, who's gonna take care of the road? We take care of the road. Who's gonna take care of the road at the end of the lane? They don't have anything to do with the road.
Staff, do we know, or does anyone know, is that a private road?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
There's a
it is a private
60-foot
road.
servitude to access the property that is the road.
And do we know, are there any covenants that would require anyone who owns property on that road to be responsible or take a pro rata share of maintaining the road? Or is that just an oral agreement, or is there any documents, sir, that you or anyone else can produce
Yeah,
that would show?
The front of property, that road is on the front of property. I own that road. All the property owners back there own that road or lane. But at the end, that property owner don't have anything to do with that road. He don't maintain it. He had all his equipment coming in, tearing up the road. We were blindsided. Big trucks hauling mud in. We didn't know what was going on.
All properties, to staff, all properties on that road would have access to utilize the road to get to their property, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
But who's going to maintain it? Who's going to maintain the road?
The parish has no
No.
jurisdiction on that whatsoever, right?
No, parish
That
has
would
no
be an issue,
jurisdiction.
that would be an issue among the property owners. The parish, which we represent, would have nothing, no say in that position. That would be among the property owners.
So you're telling me that that's my lane, and I have to maintain it, and he'll have the use of it at the end of the road?
All I'm telling you, sir, is that it's not a public access. It's not a public road, and that's what this commission would rule upon if it's a public road. The fact that it's private, those would be agreements potentially amongst the landowners for which we are not a party to, whether the restrictive covenants or agreements or anything like that. We are specifically here focusing on a case about zoning, which is within our
So they can
jurisdiction.
rent the property out?
They do have that right, yes, sir.
But they can't put no more than 2 residents there, is that right?
That would be correct, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. This time, we would close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, this is part of Mr. Ido Sharp's. You people live on the property that was Brenda's, James, and so on. These lots are y'all's, y'all bought them from them, and the road is there. It looks like on this, and I'm familiar with it, that this piece would be landlocked without that road. You can't get to it any other way, right? So even though y'all own the property, I mean, the road or whatever, that would be considered part of that estate that when they sold this property. So that would be the only way to get to the Ido Sharp Hunt piece that y'all own, correct? So we don't really have any control over the road except if council is correct. If I can ask council that without this road, this piece would be landlocked, correct? I mean, they would have access or they would have the right to get to their property by this road.
That's correct. The Louisiana Civil Code says that every landowner, if you're landlocked, you have the ability to access the nearest public road, which appears in this case to be Highway 40.
40,
And
and
it's
down
an
this lane.
existing 60-foot wide, and I don't know the legal status of the servitude, whether
Correct.
it's a recorded servitude at the courthouse, and whether there's anything in the deed to any of these properties that reference the maintenance of that private roadway. I mean, I've not been provided with any of that
Correct. Okay.
information to be able to definitively tell you. But
But
it
according to this
appears from the
survey-
map, correct.
Okay. Shanti, could I ask you a question? So you have one trailer on this property?
Yes, ma'am.
And you want to put just one more?
Right.
And
Because
no
it's
other?
almost 3 acres.
It's on the 3 acres?
Right, well, it's 2.99
Okay.
plus or minus, basically.
We don't have anything to do whether, what you do with that, renting or whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not in our jurisdiction. But with it, I think we've seen other places in how it's divided that we have put and given people permission to put two homes on 3 lots. I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve. Commissioner Davis.
Ms. Shanti?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I'm sorry?
Question, so you're living in the manufactured home now?
No, sir. I'm living, it's not set up yet, so we're still putting in the
Okay, but
well, septic.
you intend on living there?
Well, we hope to live there while we build. We currently reside off 1129. We have a lot in the Highlands. We're gonna probably stay there while we build, because we're gonna sell our residence. That's fingers crossed.
And
And
then-
then rent the other one. That would help us,
Okay.
cover the cost.
Is the goal, is you gonna rent both of them? Is that the-
Eventually, one day,
Eventually?
right.
Okay, the other one that you're talking about, so, a question for staff. What's the minimum size outbuilding they could build in A1? 800 square foot, 1,000 square foot? I mean,
The maximum.
So we missed it. It's two 16 by 80s that we own, that we want to move the other one out there. We
Gotcha.
missed it by
Okay, so-
281 foot.
I got
You
you.
can't cut
So
the.
your square footage is a little bit too
That's-
big to
that's the whole
to be
reason we
considered
had to
as-
go
as a grant.
through. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
If that makes sense. Thank you.
Commissioner Willie? Second. Any further comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote.
Mr. Lauren and Mr. Richard voted against the motion. All others voted in favor. Motion approved.
2017-827-ZC, existing zoning, A1A Suburban District, proposed zoning, A2 Suburban District. The parcel, 3.1 acres. The petitioner, Jimmy R. Rogers, Jr. and Denise Hurstel. The owner, Jimmy R. Rogers, Jr. and Denise Hurstel. The parcel is located on the northeast corner of Dove Park Road and Burris Ranch Road, Ward 4, District 5. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. Staff does not see any compelling reason to recommend approval, considering that the site is surrounded by A1A zoning on the north, east, and west sides. At this time, staff would like to recommend denial of the request.
Is the petitioner here? Ma'am, if you'd state your name and address for the record.
My name is Denise Hurstel. My address is 101 Brookstone Drive, Covington.
And the reason for the request, ma'am.
My husband and I are looking to sell the house that we're in and build on that piece of property, and give part of the property to our kids. We have 5, and we want to do that. Also, I attached some handouts there. You can see the zoning, everything around the area there is A2 to A3, less restrictive than the A1A. You can see on Exhibit A that I attached that the property is divided by the feeder line for Clico. On the north side of that, for Beatty Acres, is A2. The south side of the feeder line is A1, A1A, I'm sorry. And just for background purposes, most of the houses or the properties parcels in that area, size-wise, do not meet the A1A classification. Best I could tell originally for that Beatty Acres, there were only 10 A1A lots. There are currently now 21 lots in that A1A classification, and only 7 of them still meet that classification. All of the rest meet A2 classification, and we would just like to be on par with the current use for the surrounding property of A2, so that we have the option that if either my son or his son wants to go ahead and build there, they can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Excuse me, this gentleman is coming up first. Thank you.
Johnny Vetrano, 840 Double J Road. All the lots down there where I live off Double J and Gray Lane that Bureau Ranch runs into are over 1.5 acres. Okay, dividing this tract up is going to increase the density in our neighborhood, and Dove Park Road Bureau Ranch Road just will handle that kind of traffic. Also, there are other lots available on Bureau Ranch Road if they need to purchase another lot for their kids. So I'm against it.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Michael Giuffaloni, and I live at 1065 Dove Park Road, just a few hundred yards down the road from this property. My dad purchased 9 acres of land some 50 years ago and built a family home that I live in there currently with my family. I'm here to urge the St. Tammany Parish Board to deny the zoning change. We need to preserve neighborhoods like this in Covington. We have so few of them left. A1A zoning is vital to the fiber in which St. Tammany Parish was founded. My neighbors and I bought land and built single-family homes many years ago for the secluded, peaceful, and country-like setting here in St. Tammany. Changing the zoning to A2 would substantially increase the density of our homes in our subdivision and make it just like many other crowded subdivisions that cover our parish. In conclusion, I ask that the St. Tammany Parish Zoning Board preserve the A1A zoning designation and vote to maintain the way of life that the residents here in my neck of the woods have come to enjoy in our great parish. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Sean Wells. I live at 815 Dove Park Road, directly across from this lot. I would also second and third everything that the gentlemen have just said due to the density additions in the area and overcrowding and overpopulation. Everything on the north side of Dove Park is A1A. You guys, I'm sure, travel the road frequently to and from, and you well know that everything on the north side of Dove Park are large country-style lots. And to add 3 lots on that very narrow, small lot, if you will, although it's 3 acres deep, would be totally contradictory to what everything you have set up on the north side of Dove Park. Thank you. So I'm in opposition of this.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? Ma'am, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you. First, I'd like to state that those that in opposition, even though Mr. Vetrano, he lives on A2 property, and Mr. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce your name. I apologize. We'll say Mr. Salvatore and Mr. Wells, although their zoning is A1A, they do not meet A1A requirements, which is a minimum of 3 acres. Mr. Wells is 1.6 acres, and Mr. Salvatore is 1.67 acres. All of the area around that is A2. I'm only you're looking at maximum of 3 lots. We're not saying we're going to do 3 lots. We had attempted to place this property up for sale so that we could buy something different. No one wants to buy 3 acres, 3.1 acres at a fair market value. So we decided to go ahead and build on it. And if we wanted to divide it after that, that was fine. We were looking to put a port home. We have a motor home. We live in Brookstone subdivision. The current subdivision restrictions make it difficult for us with our motorhome, so we were looking to build a port home. Again, 3 acres at maximum, 3 one-acre lots, possibly 2 1.5-acre lots. We're only looking to be consistent with the actual use that is being used, not the zoning, because the zoning is, although it's A1A, the properties that are in there, as you can see on the attachments that I had given you, don't fall within that classification. They fall within A2 classification. They're less than 3 acres. 14 out of 21 are less than 14 acres. I mean, less than 3 acres. Any questions?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Also, 5 minutes of rebuttal for any further comments from opposition.
Not so much a rebuttal, but...
Excuse me, sir, wait until you get to the podium.
Not so much a rebuttal, but just a statement. I'm Michael Jeffley, that's Salvador. Salvador's my
If you would be so kind to
Oh, sorry.
face the
And
commission.
so on my acreage, my lot also is divided by the Coleco power lines. And I like the seclusion that my lot provides me and my family, and my dog and chickens and everything else that comes along with it. So I'd vote and urge that all of you vote to maintain the A1A classification for our little a plot of paradise in the country surrounded by suburbs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to bring up any further information? Yes, sir.
My name's Chuck Jones. I'm at 924 Gray Lane. I just had a question. Does anybody know the size, minimum size of a house if the property were to be converted from A1 to A2?
Typically, they'd be in restrictive covenants, which, again, the parish would not be a party to. Oftentimes, if there are any restrictive covenants, they would stipulate in there.
Well, I mean, that's what's in my mind. If they were to, turn it, go from A1 to A2 and cut it into 3 lots, and then put, some really small houses there, I'd be definitely opposed to that. So, until I have further information, I'm opposed to the.
Yeah, that would be, if that area were to have restrictive covenants or building guidelines, and we would not be
Well,
familiar with that. That would be specific, but the parish does not have any. And that's where we are.
Well, that's all unincorporated. So the covenants are under, subdivision names like mine. Mine is considered 80 acres. I can't even tell you what size.
We cannot tell you whether.
You don't know either? Yeah, at this point,
No,
then
sir.
I'm opposed to the rezoning.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
State my name again?
Go ahead. You may
Good?
Yes.
So if we take it to 3 lots, it's a 3-acre tract. It goes to 1.2 per acre that they're able to do this with, correct? Which is, again, underneath the 1.5 that everything else in that area is built on. So again, I would say, at a maximum, you could do 2 houses on there, but to do 3, again, like my neighbor's point, you put 3 small houses in there, again, on the north side of Dove Park, it just doesn't go. So,
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? This time I would close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
Question for Ms. Hirstel.
Yes, sir.
Do you live out on the location now?
Yes, I do. On the property itself, no. I live in Brookstone, which is right down the street.
Okay, so is it your intention to build something out there for yourself?
Yes, it is. My husband and I are actually in the process of trying to downsize. And because our home has not sold yet, it's been on the market for 8 months, we move back into it until we can get our plans moved for our downsized house. As far as Mr. Sean Wells goes, the property immediately behind him, there are two less than 1 acre lots immediately behind him. And as far as the 1 acre parcels, the house that I currently own is a 6,000 square foot house on a 1 acre parcel. So I don't think that that is an issue. I'm not looking to degrade the value of the neighborhood. I own multiple pieces of property in that vicinity. And I don't believe the BD Acres area has a minimum square footage, but we love trees, all of the good stuff. We're not looking to clear cut or anything like that.
But you are looking to go ahead and have three
Yeah.
1 acre lots?
Possibly just the two. We've not finalized everything yet, but in order to prevent spending any additional unnecessary money without having the A2 classification, it would either be 2 or 3 parcels. Yes, sir.
And you said earlier, you said this yourself, you have 5 children?
Between the two of us, we have 5 children, yes, sir.
Good luck splitting that up.
Well, no, actually, one lives in Portland, the other one's here, one's across the lake, and 2 are in Baton Rouge, so that's not an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or motions by the commission? Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I appreciate the petitioner went to great lengths to explain this and actually did a very good job. That being said, I'm going to have to agree with staff. I don't see a compelling reason to make a change in this area, and so I'm going to move to deny.
A motion by Commissioner Richard to deny. Second by Commissioner Drum. Are there any further comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Richard to deny, second by Commissioner Drum, and I advise the commission that an affirmative vote is a vote to deny. Please vote.
Mr. Davis and Mr. Randolph voted against the motion. All others voted in favor. Motion approved.
So the motion to deny has been approved. 2017-829-ZC, existing zoning, NC4 Neighborhood Institutional District. Proposed zoning, I-1 Industrial District. The parcel 1.196 acres. The petitioner, Inferno Customs, Jeffrey Shane. The owner, B&CP Corporation, Peter Penton. Parcels located on the south side of U.S. Highway 190, on the north side of Susan Street, west of Mark Drive, being 30152 U.S. Highway 190, Lacombe, Ward 7, District 7. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. Staff does not see any compelling reason to recommend approval of the requested zoning change to I-1, considering that it would create a significant increase in the intensity of the allowable uses compared to the permitted uses listed under the NC1 zoning designation. At this time, staff would like to recommend denial of the request.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. And I represent the petitioner, Mr. and Mrs. Kelly Williams. Obviously, the property is still owned by the current owner. That would be the seller to them, and that's Mr. Pete Penton. Mr. Chair, if I could at the outset, could I ask if there's others in the audience that have interest in the case and will be speaking this evening?
Certainly. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in for or in opposition to this case? Seeing none.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Shane.
So I would like to tell you the story of, and the vision that my clients, Mr. and Mrs. Williams, who are sitting on the front row with me this evening, have for this piece of property. Mr. Williams is a firefighter with Fire District 1, but he also has a passion for restoration, and he and his wife look forward to having an opportunity to build and own a private business at this location that would allow them to restore vehicles. I think it would help you to understand their vision if I read you just a very brief scope of what they hope to do. Their business is known as Inferno Customs, and Inferno Customs is an automotive restoration business that specializes in classic and antique automobiles. This restoration shop is not a high turnover body shop business. In fact, the vehicles that come through Inferno Customs are rare vehicles, and many times repairs require hard-to-find parts, which can result in a lengthy restoration process. So what my clients hope to do is create what I would call a specialty or boutique body shop for the restoration, again, of certain types of vehicles. It's interesting that the current zoning, obviously NC4, would not permit this type of activity. And I certainly respect the I-1 zone as it relates to the type of uses that can be conducted there. But I have some things to tell you that perhaps may give you some comfort and perhaps allow you to consider making a recommendation to the council that this property be rezoned I-1. I guess first and foremost, although I-1 is needed, as you probably know, there are minimum required standards that have to be met for a body shop use, even though it falls within the I-1 zone. And that's because you, government, and the code recognize that we don't want body shops to be abusive as it relates to the type of use, as it relates to the adjoining neighbors. Now, this is about a 1.2 acre parcel that's located on US Highway 190 in Lacombe. I think you would be interested to know that the business that abuts it, Demco, is a pump repair and distribution company, which in my estimation is an I-1 use, and it is of course also zoned NC4. In no way am I casting stones at the good work that Demco does. Their business is well run. I've been down to the site a few times. Their yard looks great. But it is interesting that the proposed use that my client wants to make in scope and in terms of intensity of use is no different than what abuts it. Now, the Demco site abuts Mark Drive. What's also interesting about my client's site is that we went ahead and put a site plan together. In fact, it's part of your packet, and submitted that to staff months ago because we wanted to make sure that we worked out all of the site details before we even sought the zoning. Things such as green space, such as fencing, such as the number of parking spaces. Well, a few things that I think you would be interested to know is that this use will have absolutely no outdoor storage or outdoor works whatsoever. Everything is contained within a 60 by 120 foot building, which will be constructed. And it also has an adjoining 30 foot by 60 foot sector, if you will, that would allow for the vehicles that perhaps are coming in to be repaired, to be parked if he needs to get them out of the weather, that type thing. But we don't want there to be any impression that there would be any type of wholesale vehicles all over the yard, whether they're sitting there waiting to be worked on, or whether they're in fact being worked on, or whether you'd see body blocks or parts or things of that nature. Simply not the case. Again, this is a business that at times may only have a handful of vehicles in the business because of the nature of the vehicle that they're working on. In addition to that, my client will be providing not only all code mandated requirements, but also a buffer to the rear and an 8-foot solid fence around the entire premise, because he does not want the public to be enticed to perhaps get into the yard or to be thinking about perhaps any type of situation where they might try a forcible entry into the building, et cetera. So it's unusual that you're going to have a site here, even as it relates to the NC4 uses, and even from the view from the front, from 190, it's going to be sealed, if you will, from view by this 8-foot solid fence. Now, there's another factor that I think you'll find very interesting, and that is that when my client started pursuing this idea, he happens to have a friend that lives in the residential neighborhood to the south. So being proactive, he went to the friend and explained to him what he wanted to do, and that friend in turn has talked to many, if not all, in the neighborhood. I would tell you that it's not by surprise, although I held my breath when I asked Mr. Manella if there were others in the audience this evening that might want to speak about the case, why no one's here. And that's because those folks understand what my clients want to do and don't have a problem with it. So there is, in fact, the separation of Susan Drive to the south of the site from the residences that are further to the south. There's really only 2 residences that are somewhat near and somewhat line up with the site, but there's considerable distance, and hopefully they're not going to see anything but a very nice fence to the rear. The other thing I would mention to you, and he has specifically stated that I could bring this to your attention, was that we had a meeting on site with Councilman Groby, because we knew that he might end up having something to say about all this. I mean, for the zoning to be changed, it's got to obviously go to you for a recommendation, and then whether it goes with a recommendation or an appeal, it's going to go to him. Well, he also did his own due diligence as it relates to how people feel, et cetera. Got no calls of complaints from anyone, nor did staff. I'm not suggesting that these things alone make it automatic that you recommend a change of zoning. I'm only suggesting to you that some of the things that sometimes make it awkward are not here tonight. So at the end of the day, what we're asking you to consider is upzoning a parcel that's on US Highway 190 that abuts a parcel that is currently being used in a manner that I-1 would typically require, that this site will have no outdoor storage or outdoor activities whatsoever, that this site will be fully encapsulated with an 8-foot wooden fence. And this is a project that we believe has the blessings of not only the neighbors, but also the councilman as well. So with those things in mind, I ask you to consider our request, and we of course ask that you recommend to the council that the I-1 zoning be approved. At the right time, if any of you have any questions, I'll be glad to address them.
Thank you, Mr. Shane.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate the information you shared with us as it relates to what the owner is going to do to enhance the property. Can you go into or explain again the additional buffer that you talked about? I know you talked about the outside, no outside services, the 8-foot fence, but you also said something about the additional buffer.
Yes, sir. If you'll take a look at the last page of the staff report, which staff has labeled as proposed plan.
Yeah.
You will see to the rear that there are arrows indicating where the 20-foot green space would be abutting Susan Street.
Okay.
And it also shows you where the fence, actually there's remnants of a fence now, but where the fence will ultimately be. Now you will also have, of course, buffers along each side where it abuts NC4. But so the buffer to the rear, though, would be a 20-foot green space buffer, and there would be an 8-foot fence as well. And we anticipate placing that fence on the inside of the buffer so that the neighbors get the benefit of seeing the green area up against the fence.
That being said, I know we have some other commissioners. I'm make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Lauren.
The problem is, once we zone something industrial, if anything should happen to this firm with all the good plans and the best intentions, that it doesn't come to fruition or it doesn't make it, then the property's still zoned industrial, and to me, that's a hang-up. But considering all the work that went into it and the planning that went into it, I'm going to second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Lauren. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, sometimes when we look at, sometimes we don't have much flexibility in the zoning. This is one of the things. I mean, initially you would think maybe this type of work could be in neighborhood commercial, a little bit higher zoning, or maybe highway commercial 1, that you would think it would take care of this, but it doesn't. Is that correct, Helen? And that's where the problem comes into being sometimes. I know this area extremely well. I know Demco right down the street from me, actually. And I have to agree with my other commissioners, and I think we should allow this.
Thank you. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I had the same comments. The only pause I have, or had, maybe, was that we are going to make a change, and I hope you're successful. But, yeah. But you never know what comes down the line. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and vote for this as well.
Any other comments of the commission? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve, second by Commissioner Lauren. Please vote.
Mr. Richard voted against the favor. All others voted in favor. Motion approved.
Thank you. 2017-831-ZC, existing zoning, A1 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, A2 Suburban District. The parcel, 2.11 acres. The petitioner, David W. and Darlene S. Melton. The owner, David W. and Darlene S. Melton. The parcel is located on the east side of Section Road, north of Neslo Road, Ward 2, District 6. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential and agricultural uses. Although the property is surrounded by large parcels of land zoned A1 Suburban District, staff is not completely opposed to the request, considering that the objective of the zoning change is to create a 2.1 acre parcel of land for the residents located at 80434 Section Road, and a 6.17 acre parcel of land for the residents located at 80438 Section Road, as shown on the attached survey.
Thank you. If you state your name and address for the record, sir.
Yes, sir. David Melton, 80438 Section Road. That's Covington, Louisiana, 70435. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Please proceed.
Okay. In 2004, I purchased a piece of property. It's 8.28 acres. In 2000, it had an existing home on it built back in the 50s, mid-50s. In 2005, when we proceeded to build a new home, which is why we initially had purchased the property, we had separated the existing home that was on there with 2.11 acres. We had done that in survey and also on a mortgage. Had a mortgage on 2.11 acres with that existing home. When we built our new home, we built it on the 6.17 acres that adjoins it, combined making the 8.28 acres. We built that home. It's on a separate mortgage, separate survey, separate everything. The mortgages were both recorded in the courthouse. Everything was done. The actual separation of the property was not recorded as a subdivide. That being done in 2005, that all predated the existing zoning laws that are in place today. The request today is that we recognize that they are two pieces of property. I have a zoning discrepancy. What brought the request up is we were at the point of trying to refinance. At the refinancing on the financial side, there are zoning discrepancies. I have a zoning discrepancy with the 2.1 house on 2.11 acres. If that doesn't If for some reason that can't get approved, which is what the request is, then I have a zoning discrepancy because I have two homes on one piece of property. Need some help.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the request? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
This is a beautiful home site, pond in the middle. It is just absolutely gorgeous, and the older house is in the back. And it's just a dilemma just to straighten out this situation. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve. Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. I second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Willie. Any further comments? Hearing none, we have got a motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote.
All voted in favor to approve motion. Motion approved.
Thank you. 2017-832-ZC, existing zoning, HC2 Highway Commercial District, proposed zoning, A4A Single Family Residential District. The parcel, 6,250 square feet. The petitioner, Peggy Newcomb, the owner of Flowron Properties LLC, Randall L. Richmond. The parcel is located on the west side of Nellie Drive, north of Shortcut Highway, south of Alice Avenue, being Lot 17, Square 4, Pine Shadow Subdivision, Ward 8, District 12. Staff.
2025 future land use plan calls for the site to be developed with either residential or commercial uses. Staff does not have any objection to downzoning the property from HC2 to A4A to build a single-family residence. Staff recommends that the request be approved.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Ma'am, if you'd please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. And you can pull that microphone down to you.
I'll try to state my name as much as I can. Peggy Newcomb. I'm with Gardner Realtors, 1300 Gauze Boulevard in Slidell. And this property was zoned A4, single-family residential before. The current owners had it zoned to commercial. And I'm representing Mr. and Mrs. Barbin, who would like to build a home on this property.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Dougherty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This would really be a kind of a question to staff. It's my understanding, looking at the zoning classifications and everything, that Ms. Newcomb could build a house on the HC2 without having to have it rezoned. Is there a particular reason why, I guess she came to the parish and I guess the parish is suggesting to her to have it rezoned to a residential classification rather than leave it as an HC2?
I clearly indicated to the potential owner that, they could build a residence at this time. However, they indicated to me that they preferred to file for the zoning change and they wanted to have the property rezoned to residential.
Okay, thank you. I guess, Ms. Newcomb, would you have a problem with just leaving it as an HC2? I mean, it looks like, the zoning classifications and to build on it, and if, something was to happen to the property down the road, like, a good old hurricane come through or something, it could be rebuilt based on our current zoning classifications.
Okay, could I defer to my client, to Mr. and Ms. Barbin?
Sure.
Would that be okay? Thank you.
My name is Doreen Baldwin, 38184 Morgan Galloway Road, Pearl River, Louisiana. The reason we want to change it is because we're a builder. We're going to build this house. It's going to be up for sale. The mortgage companies have a problem with giving you a residential mortgage loan on a piece of property on home if it's zoned commercial. You've got to go through a whole nother thing, which limits who would be able to purchase this home.
Okay. You've answered the question as to why you need to go to the A4A then.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would go ahead and move to have the property rezoned to an A4A.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Dougherty to approve. Commissioner Randolph, second. Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further comments? Seeing none, we have a motion by Commissioner Dougherty to approve, second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
All voted in favor, motion approved.
Thank you. Plan review cases, applications requiring review and approval of site plans along Plan District by the Zoning Commission are as follows. PR 17-12-002, use retail center, corridor Highway 21 Plan corridor overlay, zoning HC2 Highway Commercial District. The parcel 54,000 square feet. The petitioner Scott M. Gross, P.E. The owner JSB Highway 21 Lots LLC, John S. Bowers III. Parcel located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 21, south of Azalea Drive, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The petitioner is proposing a new retail center on a parcel located on the east side of Highway 21. A site plan and landscape plan were provided. However, additional information is needed. Staff recommends postponing its proposal in order to get the 20 comments that we have for the petitioner squared away. Some of them being that the property needs to be re-subdivided in order to place the buildings across property lines, and if they choose not to do so, then they will need to go to the Board of Adjustment to, or no, they need to come back to y'all to get a waiver of the landscape requirements. They'll need to provide a master plan for the entire site that reflects the approved plans for Phase 1. The proposed driveway from Highway 21 must be permitted by DOTD. Let's see. They will need to provide some additional landscaping islands and Class A trees in those islands. Let's see. And that sums up most of the comments.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here?
Yes, good evening. Scott Grove, 545 Beauchene Drive, Mandeville, Louisiana. I'm the engineer for the site and answer any questions that you have. In summary, I mean, yes, I realize there are 20 comments, but most of them are reminders, not really comments. So the things that have to be addressed, we will absolutely address along with staff. I don't think there's anything here that's major. Most of it is just drafting ins and outs. But once again, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak on this? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I'll bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I think the information such as the exterior lighting plan and some of these other items do need a little bit of time to get organized by yourself and get with the staff and make sure they're aware of everything. It just seems like you have 20 different recommendations on the show your landscaping legend, do all this, and you're kind of nonchalantly just saying, well, we're going to get it done anyway. I don't like that type of attitude, just to grant this. So with that, I'm going to make a motion to postpone and give you time enough to get with the staff and try to get some of these things solved.
Commissioner Davis, would that be for 1 month?
For 1 month. That 1 month's not going to hurt anybody.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to postpone for 1 month. Commissioner Lauren.
Historically, up and down Highway 21, we have fought like devils to maintain the requirements of the planned corridor overlay. And when I look at an item that jumps out at me like number 5, where it's gonna be a variance, I don't like that.
It won't be a variance.
Well, goes back to the point that Mr. Davis was making. It would be much more prudent, I think, to postpone this for 1 month, and I'll second his motion, in order to clear up these things so that you can come in here and say, look, we're gonna comply with all the items.
We are gonna comply with every single item on this list. There is never gonna be anything like that. I mean, I could address them item by item if you like. I just, being the last case, I thought maybe wanted to get out of here, but, I mean, some of the major ones, number 5, we are in the process of re-subdividing the property into one parcel, so there will be no interior lot lines. So that way, this will be one, I won't say giant, because it's not that big, but one parcel. That will take care of, item number 3, that will also disappear. Item number 6 is actually in the plans, that actually shouldn't be a comment. Item number 7, there will be no retention ponds, that's why they're not shown. 8, the master plan, if it doesn't match, I can't figure why, because it's basically identical. Number 9, as of this time, there are gonna be no drive-throughs. The property was developed with the intent of being able to have drive-throughs, but until we can get an appropriate traffic study approved by the parish, we can't put it into commerce. Number 10 is a comment. Absolutely, it has to be approved by the Department of Transportation. The required number of parking spaces for retail and restaurant are shown in the drawings. However, with a development of this size, you're developing a lot of empty buildings, and as tenants come in, you're gonna use up parking, based, it's kind of like first come, first serve. And we get to the point to where you have, all of the high-intensity uses taken, you have to use lower-intensive uses from that point forward. You can't get away from that. Item 12 is going to be taken care of. Item 13, we're going to put a screen around every dumpster and every transformer. 14 is a reminder, we'll need monument signs, no doubt. That's a separate permit. Lane clearing is a separate permit. We understand that as well. The maintenance is us, we understand that. We understand how to properly flag every buffer. The site triangle is something that we'll have to deal with when we get.
Excuse me 1 second. Does the commission want him to go through the laundry list? We've got a motion, we've got a second.
We've got a motion and a
Do we have a
second on the
question,
table.
Commissioner Lauren? Any further question?
No, I have no more.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Randolph.
I was just going to say, since we have that motion to deny.
We have the motion
Postpone.
to postpone.
Correct.
And also, this looked like a lot of cleanup for planning, so we can move on.
Thank you. Commissioner Casabon?
Yes, that's how I feel, that these are checklists that would have to be approved before any plats were signed or occupancy or whatever. So I don't really feel the need, I think, to postpone it.
Okay. Any further comments of the commission? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Davis to postpone for 1 month, second by Commissioner Lauren. Please vote.
Ms. Casabon voted against motion. All others voted to approve postponement for 1 month.
Motion carries. Is there any old business to come before this commission? Any new business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.